Good morning. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper.io, and I'm here today with Roland Mansilla, the COO and CFO of Safely Deposit. Good morning, Roland.
Morning, Mark. How you doing?
Good. Looks like you're in a barn there. I don't think you are, though, are you?
No, just kind of the style of the house. I'm actually outside of the one of the bedrooms. Best place, we're making it work at home, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true. So can you share a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Absolutely, I'd be glad to. I studied government and languages at Dartmouth College.
Hmm.
After graduating, I actually accepted a fellowship and I remained at Dartmouth to co-author quantitative political research, which is quite a bit different from what I do now. I published one paper with an incredible group of professors, but decided that I wanted to be in a more fast-paced working environment. So I headed out to San Francisco and joined an investment bank. I got to work with some young, fast companies, helping them raise early stage capital. And I realized that I actually wanted to transition again to be more on the operating side than the financing side. And I got an opportunity to join as a very early employee at a business called Funding Circle that really was something, out of television. That company blew up and later went public. I worked in the credit and data product teams within that business and used that to transition into product management at my most recent employer before Safely Deposit, Lending Club. As a product manager there, I got to touch almost every team in the company and gained a wealth of skills. But after a couple of years and a lot of professional growth, I wanted a little bit of time to relax and hang out with my spouse. So I went home, took a break for a bit, brushed up on some new skills, and actually reconnected with a friend to hack together on a project originally. But we got a real groove going, and we're lucky enough to be accepted into Y Combinator's accelerator. And from there, it's been no turning back. We started a company and are keeping our heads down, focused on growth in our customers. So that's a bit about me.
That's great. So what has been your experience with remote employment, both as a remote employee and a remote employer?
So I've had the good opportunity, I think, through technology and also even the brief stint in banking to be quite familiar with remote work. In banking, I actually was working with a team based in Boston, but I was in San Francisco to be closer to some of the technology companies. And then more recently in financial technology, some of the engineering teams that I oversaw were as far away as Argentina and other time zones. Myself as an employee, I've always enjoyed sort of the experiences I've had there. And I think we'll get into it a bit more as the conversation goes. But I think as far as my experience, it's been positive, and I look forward to seeing what changes with sort of these updates most recently in the economy.
Well, as long as you brought that up, what do you think is the future of remote employment, and what do you think can be done differently to make it more effective?
So I think it's definitely here to stay. I think it's been a trend that's been happening quietly, and now the lid's come off. For better or worse reasons, I think vast swaths of the economy have been forced to move this way with emergencies called around the COVID-19 pandemic. I think that there's a couple of things that need to change to help it really continue to grow. And I think, unfortunately, it won't be the most equitable growth, as some industries still need to rely on in-person interactions. Mm-hmm. But the overarching theme here, I think, is that it is here to stay. You'll see it more, even in places and organizations that, maybe even a year ago, folks wouldn't have ever imagined it would touch, such as universities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And I actually think that what's going to happen is I think a lot of people, when everyone goes back, there's going to be a rush to go back. But then come September, when the kids go back to school, because that's really the hardest part to juggle if you have kids at home.
That is, yeah. My co-founder actually has a toddler, and a lot of our scheduling is based around his son. And I think that's we spend so much time at work. I think I read a recent study that says that over the course of an average lifespan, an American spends 13 plus years actually at work. I think you need to really understand who you're working with and kind of develop a strong culture around what their needs are. And you see it more than ever. I mean, with this COVID pandemic, social media is inundated with these sort of parenting memes about how people can get a little bit of relief,
Yes, no, I know. So what is the story behind Safely Deposit? What's your product? Who's your target audience? All those things.
So Safely Deposit is a secure online document storage solution. We actually started by focusing in the healthcare space when we first started the company. My family and my co-founder's family, we both have a lot of nurses working and they would constantly complain about how hard it was for them to actually keep track of the credentials. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they have to be certified by the Red Cross. They have to go through all this training, and a lot of these certificates they get are actually still paper. So, you know, there's these big companies like Iron Mountain and the like that I think have really transitioned digitally, or helped to transition digitally all these very large businesses. But there's sort of the SMB space where these companies are still heavily relying on paper, or sort of industries that are slower to adapt, like healthcare. And so we wanted to bring secure, encrypted, reliable ways for them to put documents online and share them easily.
Very interesting. And I'm assuming you're HIPAA compliant and all that stuff if you're in the health industry.
So, you know, we actually moved a little bit away from health because of just the amount of regulation as a young startup is difficult to manage.
Mm-hmm.
We mostly actually work now with, you know, other folks that really have a key emphasis on the security, and that's a major feature in the product. Folks more in the investing space, legal, accounting companies like this. And the products continue to evolve. You know, every day we try and really take to heart listening to our customers. And as a really young business, I think that's important. Our story is very much one of being a startup and adapting in these times, unless someone who's, you know, for example, if my former employer Lending Club been around for 10 years and trying to really optimize what they already have.
Yeah, very interesting. So how did you incorporate the idea of remote at your company?
So I think it's kind of been in our blood from the earliest of days. You know, my co-founder and I both have worked with remote teams in the past, as we've mentioned, and I think there's two main benefits that, you know, I think are kind of things that we really need to work the best ways that we want to. We both live in the peninsula in the San Francisco Bay Area. And up until, you know, recently, we had both been commuting for years into the financial district. On a good day, yeah, I know, right? On a good day, that's 45 minutes. On a bad day, that can be 3 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think being able to reinvest that energy, actually, not just the time, but really the energy in our work, is something that from the get-go has gotten us motivated about remote. Also, you know, some of the best talent, I think, has a similar mindset. So working with top quality folks, specifically contractors in design and content, we want to make sure they're comfortable as employees where they're working, and, you know, sort of more focused on what they're delivering and the quality rather than having to show up and sit at a desk.
Yeah, I have done that commute, and when I do, it's 2 hours a day easily.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It compounds, you know, you're sitting on a bus or a train or in a car, and, you know, your body kind of starts to get used to slouching. You're not as active, you're tired. Yeah.
And if there's an accident, it goes longer. Just one accident.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's, you know, people joke around about the Bay Area with all this bus commuting that, you know, might take some people off the road, but, you know, there's pros and cons. I don't have a necessarily specific view on it, but I'll tell you that one of those big tech company buses, if it breaks down on 280, you're going to be delayed for another hour.
Yes, absolutely. So you brought up the ongoing pandemic, and that caused most companies to go remote, you know, Monday. It wasn't something they eased into. Did that cause you any roadblocks or challenges that you didn't expect?
You know, for us, I think that mostly came up in business development, and sort of the speed at which we're able to iterate the product from a customer feedback perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a major roadblock to me is something that, you know, causes the operations of your business to cease. And if that lasts long enough, potentially jeopardizes the sustainability of your company.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had that happen to us, but unfortunately it is happening, I think, across the economy for companies that are less fortunate. I think for us, these roadblocks are more, you know, with everyone so focused on taking care of family, you know, focused in the right areas. You know, some of our customers might be in businesses that are essential services right now. Their focuses are elsewhere. And I don't think it'd be right of us to be asking them to spend, you know, 2 hours a day with us, you know, in product development or user research, case studies, things like this.
Very interesting. So there's companies like Gaper that help develop, build, and scale products, especially for startups. How do you think, you know, how important do you think that will be in the future for companies like yourself that need to hire quality talent in a hurry?
So I think these tools are actually key to this transition. And I think you see it, you know, sort of maybe as a trailing indicator in some of these organizations that have had more trouble transitioning. And as you said, you know, go to sleep Sunday, wake up Monday, you're in a different world. These folks have never had the experience of, let alone having to put together a proper job description for someone who might be a highly talented remote employee, let alone go through the process of hiring and onboarding that person. So a tool like Gaper, I think, is going to be something that will be incredibly important for them. I think, the three main areas that you want to focus on in this transition are making sure that you have the right culture set up in your business, which is hard to change, but if you hire right, you'll get that sort of set up early on. I think secondly, it's communication. Once you hire the right folks, you need to make sure that they're able to effectively, communicate and explain and sort of help others along in the processes of a company that's either existing or getting started and trying to find their niche. And I think thirdly, hiring feeds both of those two things. So if you have a good process in place that's rigorous and that, has the support of experts, you're going to be able to prop up the first two pillars really nicely to move forward. And there's tools, I'm sure, like Gaper, documentation tools, remote collaboration tools that are going to be absolutely critical.
Yes, no, I agree. And we're definitely seeing an uptake in demand. So
I can imagine. Yeah, this has to be an incredibly interesting time for your company.
it is. Yes, it's a challenge, and it's also it's a good challenge to have.
Yeah, you get to rise up to the occasion. I'm sure help a lot of people in these hard times.
Yeah, and I personally have managed remote teams. I've had remote teams in 3 different continents. So the biggest challenge is the time zone differences.
Right. Yeah. Scheduling is incredibly tough. Keeping people, together in a group and the ball rolling forward is hard enough. And with that experience, I'm sure you can, help other companies that haven't had the ability to do that yet really transition into, the way of doing things.
Yes. Well, Roland, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you for all your insight into what's going on, and I wish you luck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This is a great chance to catch up, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from Gaper in the coming months as we continue to, and as an economy transition to remote.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great day.
Take it easy.